Hello, listeners. Today I have a special guest, Jacob LaRue from our planning team on the show. When we recorded this episode, it was a little too early to announce him being promoted to a junior partner in the firm, but I wanted to provide that context here before the show. And as you listen, I'm sure you'll understand why it was his natural path. Jacob started with us right out of college, grew his knowledge, leadership, and most importantly, amazing client service skills to the point it was clear he would be a next gen leader at Perspective Six Group. Congratulations, Jacob. I look forward to working with you for years to come. So, with that preview, let's go on to the show.
Hello and welcome to the MedTech Wealth Advisor Podcast with your host, Matt Nelson. Matt, good to be with you. I understand we're going to meet another member of the team today.
Yeah, I wanted to bring Jacob back on and hear a little bit more about his background. I mean, he's been on at this point, I think probably four different episodes,
All right.
and talking about fun stuff like tax and restricted stock. But let's hear about like his background and how that came to be. So, I mean, if listeners may remember, I did mention his role in the past, but he's been with me for several years now, right out of school, college, with the CFP background and fit right in with the team and has really just become kind of all things financial planning for us, helping uh, prepare us for clients and doing a lot of tax research and of course now he sees a lot of clients on his own as well. Um, and so I thought it'd be interesting to hear maybe his formative years and what got him interested in
Yeah.
being a financial
Where
advisor in
did
the
he
first
come
place.
from?
Where did he come from? That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about before the show, maybe we'll make up a few little tidbits about how, his
There we
superhero
go.
past and everything, but
Yeah.
see where we go with that. Um, yeah, what challenges he faced along the way and maybe hopefully a few fun facts. So you know, Jacob, thanks for coming back on the show and
Yeah.
uh looking forward to hearing about you. Why don't we just start with um a little bit about your formative years and just kind of where you grew up and we'll move from there just into how you got into planning.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here as always. My life probably pretty normal from most standards, but grew up in a suburb of Chicago. Moved there when I was 5 years old and my little brother had just been born. So my stepdad got a new job just outside Chicago. My mom didn't really know what she was going to do when we moved, but it just so happened that my brother developed some bad asthma when he was a little kid. So she kind of was forced to stay at home because he needed treatments a lot. Um, so what she ended up doing was starting her own business. So she started a in-home daycare, caused a lot of chaos
Huh,
with toddlers and little kids running around all the time. But it
sure.
was but it was fun chaos, if that makes sense. Little kids can be a lot of fun and watching them grow and how they look up to you as an older kid was kind of fun too,
Sure.
in some ways. So that's what my mom did, and she was at home all day, all night, never really got a break. She had kids during the day, obviously, and then had to deal with her own two kids at night. So she was always really busy. Stepdad, he worked in insurance claims industry. So when we moved to Chicago, it was really important for him to just find a house in a good school district for his kids to grow up in. And we probably shouldn't have lived where we lived, but it was a sacrifice that they chose to make so we could get a good education and things like that. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah, that they put some emphasis on the kids for sure. Growing up, we always made sure, that we had what we needed, even if it kind of hurt the budget here and there. Um,
So you got
family,
let
go
me
ahead.
let me just jump in. So you initially got some exposure to business owner and
Yep.
then a little bit would you say your dad was kind of in customer service sales almost in a way?
Yeah, in a way, I would say it was mostly claims. I want to say processing, but settlement. So yeah, a lot of that work, definitely dealing with customers, angry customers, um, just having to deal into some legal jargon too, which maybe most people don't realize, but claims and insurance obviously has a bunch of legal terminology. And so, he worked difficult hours sometimes, but he was always home for dinner too. So that was a big thing growing up, family dinner. We didn't ever really go out to eat. We didn't really have the funds to do that. So eating at the table and just talking about our day. And my mom's an excellent cook. She kind of passed that on to me. I like to cook a lot, and
Yeah.
um, just almost every night we had family dinner at the kitchen table, which was nice.
A lot of
Um,
good work ethic and family values. Then it sounds like you picked up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't realize it, growing up that, I just thought my mom watched kids, but it's definitely a job, watching six kids at once and
Yeah, for sure.
working long hours. Some kids got dropped off around 6:30 in the morning, didn't get picked up till 6 p.m. It was a long
Hmm.
day. And then on the other side, my dad was, he, so we lived, Western Illinois, and then my stepdad and mom moved us over towards Chicago, but my dad was still back over in Western Illinois. And he's a PGA professional, so he's been teaching golf for 30 plus years, and he definitely influenced some of the things that I value, just in regards to life. But growing up, integrity, work ethic, teamwork. Most people wouldn't think of a golfer as a team player, but there's definitely some team aspects in there. So he had a big influence on just some of those morals, which I'm grateful for.
Sure.
Um, so needless to say, I was involved in a lot of sports too growing up. Baseball, golf, played every day, literally all year round, traveled all the time for those two sports. Even my first job was in sports. I was umping youth baseball games, which I thought was pretty cool. I was 12 years old, only working like 90-minute games, making 25 bucks an hour or something like that. I
Excellent
was like,
experience.
that's pretty easy money, but and it's something I
Um,
enjoyed.
umpiring at 12, that'll teach you some stuff about life, I think.
Oh, for sure. Patience.
Yeah.
Gotta like make sure you don't say anything wrong in front of little kids, make
Mm.
fun of them.
I was thinking about the parents too, especially if they're
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's some stories we could get into, but yeah, there's definitely those parents that just every little thing you did as an umpire would, you know, kind of hurt you.
right. That's good. That sounds like a
Yeah.
very kind of a colorful past, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize how involved you were in baseball, and I knew about the golf, um,
Yeah.
since you talk about that quite a bit now. So
Yeah, I think, baseball in general, just the team aspect of it is something that has always stuck with me. Just, baseball player, you're one out of nine. So you rely on a lot of different players and teammates and people. Um, and like I said earlier, I didn't realize it at the time, but everything that I did growing up, I think the little kids around my house kind of watched me. So, that's something I look back on as like I definitely influenced a lot of younger people, I would say, even from a young age. So that was pretty cool.
your big brother do a lot more than just one.
Exactly.
That's really
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Well, how did you from there? How did you kind of get into, your education? How'd you decide where to go to school and all of that?
Yeah. So tough part for me was I wanted to play baseball. Had a small opportunity to do that in college, but it just didn't stick. I went to Western Kentucky University, mainly on a tuition incentive discount because I was from Chicago. So they wanted kids
Mhm.
from the Chicago area to come there. Got to experience some baseball there at a Division I school, but like I said, that only lasted about a year. Um, and then so when I figured out I went to college and I had a lot of figure out to do is 7 hours away from home. Didn't really have a major declared or anything like that. Um, but I did take this personal finance course and it really opened my mind to, okay, why didn't my family know this stuff growing up? And how many other
Mhm.
families don't know this stuff growing up?
Sure.
The course specifically talked about, the compounding of money, interest rates and just how that wealth can compound over time if you start at an early age. And that really just grabbed my attention. Um, so then I dug into that a little more, found out that Western Kentucky has a financial planning degree. And this financial planning degree actually allows you to sit for the CFP after graduation, the Certified Financial Planner exam. So I decided to declare my major, got super interested in it, took courses like estate planning, tax planning, insurance planning, investment philosophy. It was whole nine yards. And then, through that program, I got some really cool experiences too, just industry wise. Um,
I
so
mean,
W,
outside, you're talking about outside the school.
yeah, well, it was through the school, but it was definitely like an extracurricular type of thing.
Okay.
So WKU, Western Kentucky, they're actually a really good program for CFP graduates. And there's this TD Ameritrade conference that happens every year in Orlando, Florida. Now it's probably, TD and Charles Schwab.
Right.
But back then there was 15 schools that essentially got invites and two students from each school. And I was lucky enough to get invited to that. So I was, one of 30 students that got invited to this national conference. Got to meet a lot of people, learn a lot of different things about the industry. And, some of it was kind of futuristic stuff like we're seeing now with just technology in general, AI, not necessarily talking about that, but like, rebalancing tools for investing that are automated. All those things were fairly new. We don't think of them today as new, but they were new back then. So I got a lot of that experience. And then another really cool thing, a group of 6 of us at Western Kentucky got chosen to do a CFA research project where we
Hmm.
actually had
Now,
to,
let me interrupt you. What does CFA
that's
stand for?
chief financial analyst, right?
Chartered financial analyst, I
Chart,
think,
yeah,
is it?
chart, yeah. Sorry. So, uh, so yeah, CFA project specifically, that's mostly like investments, and digging into the valuations of different companies and how to value options and all those fun things. But this project that we did, again, it was us and a few other schools. We had to dig into Brown-Forman, who's a whiskey corporation here in the United States. We had to dig into their books and records and then develop a stock valuation and present it to their board members.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Fantastic.
so that was a pretty cool experience. Nerve-wracking for sure. I think like, the group of 6 of us, I want to say there was probably 200 people in the room that we were presenting to.
Oh, wow.
And as a college student, that's pretty nerve-wracking. So especially when you're
Excellent
presenting
experience
for a public company,
for sure. Is
Uh,
no, so it was privately traded or
it was publicly back
was
then. Yeah.
pub? Wow, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, most important was how you ended up deciding that you were going to work on a whiskey company. What was that?
But so that was actually the CFA board's
Oh, okay.
choice. So I think it was like the local company that year that they got to choose because it's so, whiskey's big in Kentucky, but
Yeah, of course, of course. I thought it was
yeah.
some other nefarious
Yeah.
story behind this, but that's good.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that was really good experience.
So from
Um,
there, so after those kind of experiences, then were you about graduated at that point, or what did you do after?
I think both of those were junior and senior year, both of those experiences.
Okay.
So then after that, I was like, okay, I'm all in, kind of need to start looking for jobs. Quickly learned that, financial planning or financial advisor job descriptions aren't always what they are cut out to be.
Oh boy.
So just because it says financial advisor in the title doesn't mean that's what you're actually going to be doing. So started interviewing with a few different companies, felt that like they were too salesy for me.
Hmm.
I don't
Right.
like to be a sales guy, typically. And a lot of these companies just, they were already wanting you to provide lists of X, Y, and Z contact info. And I was
Right.
like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So I
Right.
went back and kind of like figured out what exactly am I looking for in a career and kind of went back to those foundational pieces of, ethics and integrity. Um, and then, a lot of my professors always harped on financial, like fee only firms or fee based firms. So that's what I started to really focus on. Um, always told myself it didn't matter geographically where I was going to end up after my career. You know, I left Chicago, went to Kentucky for school. It didn't really matter
Right.
where I ended up. So I started interviewing this guy named Matt Nelson, had a job posting and it seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Financial planning associate, I
I think we
remember.
found you through LinkedIn. Is that
I can't remember if it
I,
was LinkedIn or if it was through the CFP board. I cannot remember, to be honest.
yeah, I think somehow it was through LinkedIn, and I remember that. I remember that interview, Jacob. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was good.
I,
I'm glad you found us. It was.
yeah. I think first one was a phone call. Second one, I was doing essentially like a Zoom
Mhm.
interview. I was sitting at the bar stool in my apartment in college, like at the island. I was just like, this is the best I got right now.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
good.
yeah. So,
You
so go ahead.
know, you've been with us now do you remember the year you started?
It's 2016 is, yeah. So this is going on year 8, I guess.
Time has flown. I mean, he's picked you up right out of school, and you've come a long way since then. You've already gone through here some just great background and ethics you picked up from your family, and that all shows for sure as you are serving clients today, and what you
Yeah.
do and what's important to you. And so, I mean, it was just serendipitous that we ran into each other the way we
Oh
did.
yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. It was definitely a blessing for sure.
Yeah. Well, when um, beyond that, then when you kind of got into it, what have you learned so far, and maybe was it different than what you expected in the industry?
Somewhat, I think, I think coming out of school, a lot of people will say like, your education background is usually pretty good, especially if you did well in school and tried hard, you're usually going to have a good educational base. But what you're not typically going to have unless you have like internships or prior job experience like this is that interaction people to people, which is really important in our industry. So that was a big thing for me to learn is just, what makes people tick. Everybody has a different thing, right? Some
Hmm.
people really, really want to focus on building their own wealth. Some people want to give it away. Some people want to protect it, things like that. So that was really important to me to learn. It's just every client has a different situation. And just because they should do this from a math or numbers standpoint, doesn't mean that it's gonna fit like what they feel comfortable with, and the risk that it might take. Even if it's not a risky move, it might just not make sense for them from a personal side.
Hmm.
So learning more about people and what makes each of us tick is something I really enjoy now that I didn't really think I was ever going to need to know. I thought,
Yeah.
A equals A type of thing.
Hmm. Hmm. That's interesting. That's good to pick up. And you know, as you've now gone through the years, looking back on what you started with and what you know now, um, what comes to mind is like maybe the hardest lesson.
Oof. Hardest lesson. Hmm. Hardest lesson, yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what I was just talking about in a way, but like you don't know what you think you know type of thing is it's it's like you might have this answer that is perfect, but it doesn't mean it's perfect for them. And a lot of times the research that you do, it just won't matter at the end of the day. It's very independent, very family driven when it comes to finances and we all have our own backgrounds, and like I said, our backgrounds kind of form us and drive our future decisions. So it's hard to persuade somebody that it's the right choice if it's just against what they feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Ultimately, that's great. I mean, ultimately, it's a people business.
Yeah,
It's not a numbers business. It's a people business with a lot of numbers in it, is really what it
exactly.
amounts to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I
Interesting.
loved math growing up, but like I think that perfect combination came about just organically is like I like the number side. And I definitely liked like working with people from sports and just
Yeah.
like I said earlier, but those two things came together and that's how I got this career.
That's very good. Yeah. And when you came, it just kind of touch on a little bit more on your education. Um, you actually then were able to sit for the CFP pretty
Yeah.
soon after you got out of Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I think basically what I did was, that first year with you at Perspective 6 kind of just soaked everything in. So I want to say I started studying again for the exam 2017, took it in November of 2017 is when I got
Right.
my CFP. So yeah, first year spent just learning everything that I needed to know from a business standpoint and how we work as a team, and then dove in.
That CFP. And just to remind everybody, a CFP, certified financial planner. So kind of the gold standard, if you will, on the the general practitioner designation, if you will. Well, this has been really good. I want to go through just a few more kind of life questions as we're wrapping up. And yeah, before I ask you about family, I want to throw one at you that we didn't talk about pre-planning. So was there anything else that happened at Kentucky that was significant in your life?
Oh, you're talking about my wife?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe you should bring that up, being
Yeah.
this is your
Yeah,
Meet Jacob
that was
episode.
a big one. So yeah, my wife is where I met her, Western Kentucky. So we actually are both financial advisors. Met her in a financial planning course. I was super interested. She wasn't at first, typical story. But I ended up getting her, so that was good.
That's fantastic. So you meet in the financial planning course of college. And of course, we know what you talk about at dinner then. It's all
Oh
financial
yeah,
planning all the time, right?
that's it. That's
Oh my
all.
gosh. I had to get the plug in there. So, we gotta get you
That was
set
good.
up there.
Yep, yep.
So what else do you do for fun?
Actually, let me go back to that.
Yeah.
The TD Ameritrade conference that I referenced, two students from 15 schools. She was the other student from Western Kentucky.
Oh, no way.
So
You're competitors.
yeah, we got to go together. That was pretty
That's
cool.
that's great.
Yeah. But
Very
yeah,
good.
rest of the time with my family, so I got my wife. We have two kids, 3-year-old boy and just about a 6-month-old little girl now. So that's really fun. We're always busy at night. You don't realize how stressful it is until you're in it. But like you come home from work, you make dinner, put the kids to bed, and it's already 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you're exhausted. So that's life right now. It's just a season of it though. Um, we're both pretty big sports fans, my wife and I, so we watch a lot of sports together and we find other things to do together, whether it's movies and shows. I said
Interesting.
that, my favorite season is fall just because of football. So
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
I
how it
think
is.
there's what in particular is the team you follow, Jacob?
Yeah, so I got this one from my dad. He grew up, Southern Illinois, Western side Illinois. He watched the Chiefs growing up a lot, so I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. The dynasty has begun here, and it's fun.
We have a lot of fun just kicking around
Yeah.
Chiefs talk here in the office. So that's good.
Yep.
Well, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do at
Yeah,
this point?
right. Yeah, right now, again, this is a season of life, but I would hire the world's best nanny for a few weeks, and then me and my wife would go go somewhere fun.
Go just somewhere away, huh?
Yeah, like the beach, maybe.
There you go. Yes. Um, what is one thing you would recommend most clients, um, family or
Yeah. I
friends?
think this one specifically for family because I just focus on my own family and how we grew up. It's just making sure you both are on the same page. Now, that doesn't mean you have a joint account for everything, although that does help, I think. But really just communicating about money and what each of you are doing with money, that's a huge, huge thing. Um, so I think that's a really good thing to hit home.
It's kind of right in the values we have with the practice, doesn't it? Just how important money is to well-being of
Yeah.
people's lives and just society in general.
Yep. Yep. It really is. It's just the value, even if you don't have a ton of money, just how much of a stressor it can be,
Right.
regardless of your wealth situation is a huge deal.
Well, if if someone was to ask you one thing that we don't know about you, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Oof. I got some fears. I mean,
Years.
blood is a big fear of mine. I think blood should stay in the body.
All right.
I don't need to see that. So yeah, that's an odd one, but
Yes. Well, you probably picked a better profession, right? Than
yeah,
being the healthcare
exactly.
provider. That's
Yeah,
good.
that was never in my forecast being a doctor or anything like that.
The last couple here, what is your idea of success?
Yeah, I think just knowing you can go to bed each day. This is gonna sound cliche, but knowing that you can go to bed each day, that that you tried your best, you didn't ruin anybody's life, you didn't ruin your own life, and nothing you did is gonna break the world, essentially.
Hmm.
So just knowing you did what you could that day.
Hmm. Do you have a mantra or anything that you kind of use to keep you calm or
Yeah.
focused?
Yeah. So this one actually goes back to senior year of high school. Our baseball coaches, beginning of the season, I think we were kind of struggling, and we were a really good team, so we shouldn't have been struggling. And you don't get homework at baseball practice, but he gave us homework, and he told us to go home and like make an inspirational quote. You could find one online or make one yourself. And for some reason, this just came to me, and
Hmm.
this is my quote.
Hmm.
It's the further you beat yourself down, the closer to hell you are. So what that means is like you could strike out over and over again and you could beat yourself up and you're never going to get better from that.
Sure.
It's like just turning the page type of thing, kind of having that mentality. So when you make a mistake, you can't harp on it. You got to just keep going.
Yeah. I like that framing. I like that framing. It's just it doesn't help anybody to have a bunch of self-talk and push
Yeah.
yourself. That's
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I may have to write that down myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one.
That's good. This
Original.
yeah, original, exactly. Well, we've got a whiteboard here. We'll put it up in the
It's,
back office. So yeah, it was good to meet, like hear more about your background, Jacob. I learned some things today I didn't know. So that's
yeah.
one of the reasons I wanted to do this. I'm sure you'll be with us on a number of different shows. You've got a bright future ahead in the industry and just helping clients and just everything you do. So thanks for telling us and letting us behind the curtain, so to speak.
No, yeah, that was fun. It's always good to look back and reflect sometimes because you don't do that often. So that was fun.
Right. Yes, exactly. Helps prod you forward.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I think that's it. We're gonna close it out there.
No, I just going to say, Jacob, I'm really impressed that you weren't more damaged by being an umpire as a kid, because I have a friend of mine whose son did exactly what you did
Yeah.
when he was young, and he was the umpire, and his dad used to go to games because fathers used to threaten his son, who
Oh my
was
goodness.
like
Oh,
probably 12, 13 at the time.
yep.
And he was always having to back crazy dads off. So
Yeah. I didn't want to tell
Interesting.
this story, but maybe I will real quick. And we can cut it out of the podcast if we need to. But that happened.
I believe it. Yep.
I was umping a championship game for 9-year old tournament. Um, I was the home plate ump. The batter ducked, but he didn't pull his bat down, right? So it
Yep.
hits the bat, ball goes fair. That's a live ball.
That's a live ball.
Pitcher throws it to first. That's how the game ended. That was the last out of the game. And the dad from the other team, so I didn't see this, but luckily one of my brother's friends, his dad was there. I was going, up to the concession stand to turn in my time card, which is what you do after games.
Yep.
And supposedly this dad from the other team was following me with one of the, foldable chairs
What?
and was swinging it over my head. But my brother's friend's dad grabbed him and sat his butt down.
That is
So
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, of course, the 9-year-old championships are
Oh
close to
yeah.
World War, like,
Oh yeah.
geez.
It will change the way you look at youth sports forever, let me
Oh my
tell you.
goodness.
Yeah.
Gives you good perspective, Jacob, for when your kids get older and they want to play sports. You
Oh
might be
man.
a little calmer.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. Yeah.
I'm glad you survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you on further podcasts. It's great to meet you. Even though you've been on, as Matt mentioned, you've been on several times before with advice. Now at least we know who's giving the advice. That's great. So
Right.
thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Matt, thanks for the conversation. For people who want to reach out to you, or maybe even reach out to Jacob at this point,
Yes.
how do they do that?
Yeah, you certainly start with our phone number. Give us a call, 952-225-0343. You can also just start at our website. It's perspective6group.com. It's the number 6, perspective6group.com. And if you have suggestions for future shows, we certainly get questions all the time, and we're taking common questions. We'll make a topic out of it. You can contact us at MWA podcast at focusfinancial.com. So MedTech Wealth Advisor Podcast, MWA, and love to hear from you and take suggestions for new topics.
That'd be great. Yeah. So write it in. Before you write it in, if you're not a subscriber already, hit the subscribe button. That way you will be a subscriber to the podcast and you will be automatically notified whenever Matt posts a new podcast to listen to. And we would also ask that if you like it and you're enjoying it, tell people about it. Spread the word. Get the word out there and help spread this podcast far and wide. Until next time, on behalf of Matt and everybody at Perspective 6, I'm Bill Tucker, thanking you for joining us today and reminding you that today is a day that you can go out and make a great day. Or not. It is a choice. Thanks for listening.